The NBA let Zach LaVine know exactly how they feel about him. So I'm here to let you all know why Zach LaVine must be all in with the Chicago Bulls to start this season. Y'all know we gonna talk about it, break it down, but you gotta hear the music first.
Cognac gang.
Shy Boys podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on this daily episode right here on Shy Boys podcast. The support has been amazing. Shout out to y'all, Bulls Nation. And if you're tuned in with me today, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well as that next milestone is 6,700. So subscribe. Now we talking about Zach LaVine. A lot of things has been coming out these last few weeks regarding Zach LaVine. And the most recent thing that came out about Zach LaVine was a report that pretty much said the Bulls are resigned to having Zach LaVine on this team. What does that tell me? Yeah, we don't really want the guy on our team, but we understand what the market is telling us. So for right now, we'll have to just deal with it, Zach LaVine. And that's how Zach LaVine should approach this. I understand what the league has said about me. I understand what's being said about me. Right now, if I want to kind of rehabilitate my value within this NBA, I must buy in. That's why I'm saying Zach LaVine must buy in just until you get the job done. Me personally, I don't see Zach LaVine as being a long-term Chicago Bulls any longer. He spent a number of years here, but to see that he's going to say be here for 2-3 more years, I think that ship has sailed. I think right now the Bulls and Zach LaVine need to become one. They need to be on a collaborative effort to get up out of here. Zach LaVine get up out of here, and the Chicago Bulls get new blood up in here in the Chicago Bulls uniform. Now we've noticed, we heard about the article to where the Chicago Bulls have resigned about Zach LaVine being on the Chicago Bulls this season. But that's not the only report that we've seen come out regarding Zach LaVine. And there's been a lot of rumors and things going on with Zach LaVine's names being attached to it. At one point, we heard the New York Knicks was possibly interested. Boom! Report came out. They're not interested. They're actually trading for Mikal Bridges. Then we heard about the Clippers being a team that might rise up and want to explore Zach LaVine now that Paul George has moved on to the Philadelphia 76ers. That ain't work out either because the Clippers went out and they added 3 young pieces in Porter Jr., Derrick Jones Jr., and then there was another fella I can't remember at the moment. But they picked up 3 additional pieces to just kind of mold over or kind of gloss over the loss of Paul George and didn't really have too much interest in the Zach LaVine. Then some Sacramento came up. It was that, that constant reminder that, hey, the Bulls might be interested in Kevin Huerter. A potential trade is Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes with a pick. And then the Bulls were trying to offload Zach LaVine. Boom! Another report shot down. It was actually come to the table that the Sacramento Kings are actually more interested in DeMar DeRozan than Zach LaVine. And then there's a guy on Twitter who is constantly posting and reposting different things about Zach LaVine. I swear, for the last few weeks, just about once a week, there's another report that comes out from Legion Hoops Twitter page, pretty much saying Zach LaVine's trade market is dried up. Nobody wants Zach LaVine. Nobody believes he's a winning player, et cetera, et cetera. And those tweets typically come with the quote tweet or some type of reference to Bulls writer, or I've said a guy that's around Chicago media. We all know him, and Joe Cowley. Joe Cowley is going to make sure every single week that nobody wants Zach LaVine. So you add all those examples, all those different talks that come up when you talk about Zach LaVine, and just you got to come to the table and say, "Damn, Zach." We as Chicago Bulls fans know you at least have some talent. We know that you can go and be a 25 points per game scorer. We know you have some athleticism. We know you have some game. But then there are some things that us as Bulls fans, we know about you as well, that we want to kind of hide from the NBA. But real fans like me, you know what I'm saying? Yes, we understand that the time has sailed. The time has to be gone. Everything has to end with Zach LaVine. But we do, at least for me personally, I know that this guy can still offer a team a lot. You know what I'm saying? Outside of the injuries and the BS that he gave us to start the last season, Zach LaVine is very well still a decent player. I would say better than decent. He's still a good player, a guy that could put the ball in the basket for you and have some explosive games for you. Not necessarily saying that he's the number one option, but as a number 2 or 3 on a night, maybe sometimes as a number 1 option on other nights, Zach LaVine can give you more than most players that seem like they can't stop getting what they want and being traded. James Harden is one of those guys. But when we talk about and you compare Zach LaVine to James Harden and how he keeps going on, it's the simple fact that we don't remember Zach peak that much. Or has he even peaked? Or did he just simply plateau? No, you know what I'm saying? Did he get better as a player and just kind of plateau right there? And then that difference is when you look at James Harden, how some of us, including myself, like, damn, how James Harden keep getting traded? Is because the peak is so high. This is a former MVP. Every GM who's traded for James Harden's like, oh, we getting a former MVP. Are we getting a guy who's going to operate and give you 30 points potentially on the night and give you 10 assists? Oh, maybe we could just get a little bit more out of James Harden. I think that value from James Harden is start to diminish a little bit, but I got to keep it a buck. It ain't diminishing that much because the Clippers just re-upped on them for a nice payday. So when you talk about that and you compare some of the players and whatnot, we just know that Zach LaVine hasn't had the greatest time with the Chicago Bulls. It's not all on him. Some of it is on him. Some of it is on this organization for poor coaching, poor player additions, whatever, injuries. A lot of things came into play versus when you talk about James Harden or even a Tobias Harris who re-up. You know what I'm saying? The difference is that their situations was different. These two guys were free agents. Not a lot of people want to pay Zach LaVine that type of money, especially with the CBA and the new aprons and all that stuff that came to play. And one of the major things that hurt Zach LaVine is last season. The start of last season, Zach LaVine looked checked out. We heard about the trade rumors, but before the trade, it came early in the season, but before the demand was there, the effort just wasn't there from Zach LaVine. That, to me, with the team last year and the way that it was shaping out and the way that you had to lean on DeMar DeRozan a little bit more, you had to lean on Zach LaVine a little bit more. That was not a game that Zach LaVine was not supposed to score under 20 points. But we seen several of those games to where Zach LaVine was putting out 12 points, 15 points, lackadaisical on defense. When we know or we've seen the year prior, at least he was, competent enough to defend. Was he a great defender? Absolutely not. But we seen the effort that was there. We seen the offensive punches that he was able to do. We seen Zach LaVine play through injuries and play much better than what he played at the start of last season. So what must Zach LaVine do now? You got to come out of here and be the greatest damn teammate in the Chicago Bulls locker room. And I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying you got to bring donuts for everybody or whatever, but what you do for these young guys, it can either help rise the stock of Zach LaVine or continue to tarnish it or continue to stay where it's at. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of, I believe there were some teams that contacted the Chicago Bulls and tried to give them pennies on the dollar. But that's not a deal that the Chicago Bulls are going to be willing to make Zach LaVine. So what must Zach LaVine do now is go in there, be a solid teammate, help the Chicago Bulls get some wins, and go off. Go off in some of these games, but don't take away from the team. Let's just say, for the sake of discussion, if he comes out, let's say for the first 2 or 3 weeks, Zach LaVine is averaging 24 points. The Chicago Bulls got an above 500 record to start the season, or at least at 500. that starts to get some, get some things going. And then the board's gonna have to play a part in this too. Look, tell Joe Cali to chill a little bit. Get KC Johnson on board. Throw some reports out there that Zach LaVine bought his teammates new Rolex watches. I don't care. You do anything that you can do to get positive reports out on Zach LaVine, because the reports that we've seen is Zach LaVine is not a good teammate right now. You know what I'm saying? We understand the professionalism, but how professional was Zach LaVine when he came out and crapped his time away from the Chicago Bulls last season before the season ending surgery? So this has to be a relationship that works for both sides. The Bulls, you should be pushing out everything positive to KC Johnson. Don't talk to Joe Cali. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And Zach LaVine, lean on KC Johnson too, or if you gotta get Joe Cali on your side, do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Because the longer Zach LaVine plays around this, the longer you're gonna be in red and black. That's all I'm saying. Look, I'm not saying Zach LaVine has no place on this team, but he wants to be gone. We understand that the relationship with Billy Donovan, he doesn't really like the guy. That's already been placed in several circles and conversations. So how do you go ahead and rehabilitate that bad taste in people's mouth? How do you brush that bad taste out of your mouth after you ate some sardines or something? I don't eat that stuff, but some people do. So when you eat them sardines, how do you clean your breath? Zach LaVine, look at this. How do you clean your breath, my boy? Because everybody think you got halitosis. Everybody think you got halitosis, Zach LaVine. So the point is, bruh, at training camp, we sitting down with the front office and Billy Donovan. Look, I'm going to be the best teammate I can be, but y'all still got to work behind the scenes. Hey, Rich Paul, make sure we holding these guys accountable. Now, it is tricky because we've seen in this NBA to where just recently, about a year or two ago, that James Harden literally in front of billions of people say, Daryl Morey in Philly, he's a complete liar. You don't want that situation with the Chicago Bulls. The organization already doesn't have the best type of feel around the league. But if you can go ahead and rehabilitate yourself as an organization, you can probably potentially get the trade that you want and then become a trade destination or a free agent landing spot for future, you know what I'm saying, for future players to come in here. So the Bulls got some work to do. Zach LaVine got some work to do. But it ain't happening if Zach LaVine has 1 foot in and 1 foot out. We know the foot is out the door, but you can't make it appear that way, my boy. You can't check out before you go to vacation. Y'all know how y'all be BSing before that vacation start. You go in the day before. You going to try to find your favorite hiding spot. You going to try to tell your manager your stomach hurt or you got a boo-boo. So he can't do that. Zach LaVine cannot do that. Zach LaVine got to come in and be top notch. He got to have it all buttoned up, had her shoes laced up and ready to go. He has to show that he's healthy. He has to show that he's a team player. And the production got to match the contract. And you got to find somebody thirsty. You know what I'm saying? Last point, last analogy I got for y'all. I feel like I threw a few at you. Last one. I know y'all see that nice young guy walk through. For my ladies that be tuning in to Shy Bulls podcast, that nice guy, that nice gal, that slide through, everything look good. But when you look down, the shoes bogus. Or when you talk to them, the teeth yellow or the breath stink. They just throw everything off. So Zach LaVine, you got to make sure you're fresh from head to toe. And you got to have something on your breath that don't smell like poop. You got to have some mint on your breath and some cologne though. Some cologne for yourself. You got to smell good when you walk through. You got to grab that attention. That's for my people that's out there with the good cologne. But I hope y'all understand the point. Zach LaVine, he must be all in with the Chicago Bulls if he wants to go. That's just how it is. That's just what it's going to be. And we shall see what happens. We shall see what happens. But that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel before you get up out of here. If you want to call in and be a part of our mailbag episodes, call us 773-242-9219. Call in, leave your name, give your take on whatever it is, Chicago Bulls, and you get yourself on the episode. But thank y'all so much, Bull Nation. See Red, of course, and you already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. For sure.
Cognac.